Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. Why is it that two people can grow up in the same neighborhood, go to the same schools, earn almost the same salary, and yet one of them ends up financially free, genuinely happy, and at peace with their life, while the other spends decades feeling stuck, stressed, and secretly wondering where it all went wrong? And I'll be honest with you, I used to roll my eyes at this kind of advice too. I used to think it was luck. I used to think it was connections, or maybe just timing. But then I started paying attention to the actual daily behavior of people who had both real wealth and real happiness. And what I found quietly changed everything I thought I knew about money. And maybe I'm wrong, but I genuinely believe what I'm about to share matters more than any investment strategy you'll ever come across. Because here's what nobody tells you, and most financial YouTubers won't say this because it doesn't sell a course. The richest people in your city right now, the ones who sleep well at night, who don't panic when the economy shifts, who seem to have this quiet confidence about their financial future, they're not doing dramatic things. They're not waking up at 4 a.m. and grinding themselves into the ground. They're not making risky bets on crypto or praying for a lucky break. They're doing 7 things, small, almost boring things, every single day. And the fact that these habits look so ordinary is exactly why most people overlook them completely. This is the part nobody talked about when I was figuring out money in my 20s, and it cost me years, but not today. Because today, I'm going to walk you through all 7 of these habits, one by one, through the real story of people who actually live them. And I need you to stay with me all the way to habit 7, because that one is the habit that makes all the others actually stick. Miss it, and you'll try these habits for a week, feel good, and then slowly drift back to exactly where you started. I've seen it happen 100 times, so stay with me. If you're watching this, chances are you've already tried the obvious stuff, and it hasn't fully worked. That's not your fault. Take Marcus, a 38-year-old project manager from Austin, Texas. 4 years ago, Marcus was earning $72,000 a year, had $11,000 in credit card debt, and couldn't tell you where most of his money went every month. He wasn't irresponsible, he wasn't lazy, he just had no system. And without a system, even a decent income leaks out like water through your fingers. The first thing Marcus changed was so small he almost laughed at it. Every morning, before he touched his phone, before he checked emails or looked at his bank account, he spent 2 minutes just sitting with one financial intention for the day. Not a goal, not a budget review, just one intention. Today, I will not make any impulse purchase without waiting 24 hours. That's it. 2 minutes, one intention. But here's what that tiny habit actually did. It put Marcus in the driver's seat of his financial decisions before the world had a chance to pull him in 17 different directions. Research from Duke University shows that over 40% of our daily actions are habits, not conscious decisions. Marcus was taking back control of his autopilot before it had a chance to take over. Within 8 months, his credit card debt was gone.
But here's where it gets interesting, because Marcus will tell you that clearing the debt wasn't even the most important part. The most important part was what happened to how he felt about money. And that brings us to something most financial advice completely ignores. Before you roll your eyes and think this is about to get soft on you, hear me out, because this next part is where most people's wealth building silently breaks down. Marcus started keeping what he called a financial wins journal. Not a budget spreadsheet, not a net worth tracker, just a small notebook where every single day he wrote down one financial decision he was proud of. Maybe he packed lunch instead of ordering out. Maybe he canceled a subscription he forgot he had. Maybe he just noticed a craving to buy something unnecessary and didn't act on it. One win, every day, written down. Dr. Sonia Lubiemirsky, a psychology professor at UC Riverside, spent years studying what actually makes people feel financially confident, and her findings were striking. People who regularly acknowledged their small financial wins were significantly more likely to stay consistent with long-term financial habits than those who only focused on big goals. Because your brain needs evidence that you are someone who makes good financial decisions. Without that evidence, every setback feels like proof that you were never cut out for this in the first place. I'm not saying this because it sounds good. I'm saying this because I've watched people ignore it and pay the price. Now here's the part I think about the most. Around month 4, everything almost fell apart. Marcus's car broke down. $1,400 gone in one afternoon. He watched his savings account empty out and almost quit everything. There was a moment sitting in that repair shop parking lot where he genuinely considered just giving up on the whole system. And I wish someone had told me this at 25. It would have saved me a lot of sleepless nights. But setbacks are not signs that the system is broken. They are the system working. Because what Marcus did next changed everything. He opened his financial wins journal right there in that parking lot and wrote down one thing. I handled an emergency without going into debt. That was his win for the day. One sentence, and it kept him going. Now here's something Marcus discovered around month 3 that I don't think gets nearly enough attention. He started doing something almost embarrassingly simple every time he got paid. Before paying any bill, before buying anything, he moved a small amount, sometimes just $50, into a completely separate savings account he named Future Marcus. Not emergency fund, not savings, Future Marcus. And I know that sounds almost childish, but stick with me because the psychology behind this is anything but simple. Most people treat their future self like a stranger they've never met.
Marcus treated his like a best friend he owed a favor to. When you name a financial goal after a future version of yourself, you activate what behavioral economists call future self continuity. A study from Stanford found that people who felt a stronger connection to their future self saved significantly more money than those who saw their future self as essentially a stranger. Marcus wasn't saving for retirement, some abstract concept decades away. He was taking care of a specific person, himself, 10 years from now. That distinction, as small as it sounds, is worth more than any budgeting app you'll ever download. But here's what nobody saw coming, and this is the part that surprised me most about Marcus's story. Around month 5, Marcus started doing something with his money that looked, on the surface, like it had nothing to do with building wealth. Every month, he allocated a small amount, just $30 to $40, specifically to spend on experiences with people he cared about. A dinner, a weekend hike, a movie night, not on things, on moments. And his net worth kept growing. A Harvard study tracking 80 years of human lives found that the single biggest predictor of happiness and health was not wealth or fame, it was the quality of relationships. Marcus was building that life in real time. Because here's the truth that Wall Street will never put in a brochure. The people who burn out on wealth building, who save aggressively for 2 years and then blow it all in a moment of emotional spending, almost always do so because they never built a life that felt worth protecting. Marcus was giving himself a reason to stay disciplined, and it worked. By year 2, Marcus had $23,000 invested in index funds, a fully funded emergency account, 0 consumer debt, and something that surprised him more than any of those numbers. He stopped feeling anxious about money, not because he was rich, but because he trusted himself. Everyone talks about passive income. Nobody talks about building the identity that can actually handle wealth. And that trust, that quiet inner confidence that you are someone who handles money well, is the real foundation of financial happiness. Not the number in your account, the identity you build around how you treat money every single day. Which brings me to habit 7, the one that holds everything together. And honestly, if you take nothing else from this video, take this. Every single day, Marcus said one sentence to himself. Out loud, in the car, in the mirror, didn't matter where. The sentence was this:
I am the kind of person who builds wealth without sacrificing my happiness. That's it. Because here's what nobody tells you about financial habits.
They don't fail because people lack information. They fail because people don't actually believe, deep down, that they are someone who can pull this off. Every time Marcus said that sentence, he was casting a vote for a new identity. And identity, not discipline, not willpower, not motivation, is what makes habits permanent. James Clear, who spent years studying the science of behavior change, puts it simply. The most powerful thing you can do is decide who you want to be, and then prove it to yourself with small actions every day. Controversial opinion. The reason most people stay broke isn't laziness. It's that they've never been shown what a healthy relationship with money actually looks like. Marcus didn't become wealthy because he found a secret investment strategy. He became wealthy because he changed who he believed he was. And that is exactly what rich people hide. And here's what I want to ask you directly. What would change in your financial life if you genuinely believed, not hoped, but believed, that you were the kind of person who builds wealth? If nobody in your life is talking to you about this stuff, that's not an accident. This is exactly what rich people hide. Now you know. Use it. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these 7 habits you're starting tomorrow, because the people who comment are always the ones who actually follow through. And I want to hear from you.